The Galactic Council had always kept a close eye on humanity. In their vast archives of interstellar societies, Earth was catalogued as a non-threatening, cooperative civilization, better known for its scientific and cultural contributions than for its military might. To the Council, humanity's reluctance to engage in conflict wasn't wisdom, it was a sign of timidity. Humans were seen as agreeable, even eager to bend if it meant keeping the peace, which made them, in the eyes of the Council, predictable and unthreatening. Despite its reputation, Earth's influence had grown steadily in recent years. Humanity had brokered peace treaties, contributed to advanced medical research, and built alliances that benefited many, but none of this seemed to worry the Council. They saw it all as a way for humans to hide their weaknesses behind a mask of diplomacy. Some Council members even joked that Earth would flee from a real battle if it ever came to that. They had no reason to think otherwise. Humans had never displayed anything that might suggest an appetite for war. All that changed with a single incident. A small human research vessel, on a peaceful mission at the edge of Council territory, was ambushed by an allied species known for its aggression. The human vessel was outmatched and only narrowly escaped, but instead of retreating back to Earth, they immediately filed a protest, stating that they had the right to explore freely without intimidation or violence. Their message, direct and unyielding, caught the Council off guard. For the first time, humanity didn't shrink back in fear or make conciliatory gestures. Instead, they held their ground, demanding both recognition of their rights and assurances of their safety. The Council, infuriated by what they saw as a challenge to their authority, issued a harsh response. Humanity was to cease all exploration in Council-adjacent space immediately. The Council expected humans to fall in line as they always had before. But to their shock, Earth's representatives refused to back down. Their reply was firm, diplomatic, but unwavering. Humanity would not restrict its movement under any unfounded threats, nor would it allow aggression to deter them from what they had every right to do. Their words were met with silence. No one in the Council had anticipated such defiance. For the first time, the Council began to sense that perhaps they didn't know humans as well as they thought. Determined to reassert their control, the Council decided to send a fleet of their most advanced warships to Earth's borders. This, they believed, would be the final step in forcing humanity to understand its place. As the fleet mobilized, messages filtered across Council space about humanity's impending lesson in respect. Many species saw the move as nothing more than a formality. After all, humans wouldn't stand a chance against the might of the Council's forces. But on Earth, a very different atmosphere prevailed. Rather than cower, human leaders prepared for what they understood as a looming threat. Behind closed doors, military strategists and scientists coordinated under an emergency protocol called Operation Sandstorm, a contingency plan Earth had quietly developed for years in case interstellar tensions ever reached this point. Leaders from every major nation, who had spent centuries adapting to adversity and conflict on their own world, saw this challenge as yet another test in a long history of survival. Word of the Council's fleet arriving on Earth's borders had stirred little panic. Instead, there was resolve. Public announcements encouraged calm, and a surprising number of citizens volunteered to assist in whatever way they could. Humanity was ready to do whatever was necessary to ensure its future in the galaxy. The Council, however, remained certain that humans would falter the moment they realized the scale of the fleet bearing down on them. The real surprise, however, came when the first scans revealed that the humans weren't as vulnerable as the Council had assumed. Council intelligence had severely underestimated humanity's technological advances. Earth had been developing advanced shielding, innovative energy weapons, and spaceflight maneuvers that their spies had failed to detect. And more than that, the humans had allies, species within the Council's territories who had grown weary of the Council's oppressive control and saw this confrontation as a chance to shift the balance of power. As Earth readied itself, small factions and alien groups, some native to Council worlds, reached out to humans in a show of quiet support. They began sending intelligence, helping humanity understand the strengths and weaknesses of the Council's forces. With each new piece of information, humanity's leaders fine-tuned their strategies, realizing that, despite the Council's numbers, they were facing a bureaucracy bloated by its own self-assurance. Earth's citizens watched as humanity moved from a state of quiet apprehension to one of measured determination. While the Council's warships loomed at the edge of Earth's territory, the human fleet, though smaller, was prepared with a strategy that could very well change the outcome of this one-sided power struggle. As the Council's fleet lingered at Earth's borders, humanity didn't waste a second. Their preparations shifted from quiet contingency to active defense under Operation Sandstorm, which was designed not only to protect but to send a powerful message. Earth's top scientists and military strategists worked around the clock, transforming the planet's orbital defenses and repurposing civilian satellites into a complex grid of communication and observation nodes. This web allowed them to monitor every Council movement, even predicting some of their tactical maneuvers. For humanity, this wasn't just a fight for territory. It was a declaration of autonomy in a galaxy that had seen them as weak for far too long. The Council had assumed that their show of force would intimidate Earth into compliance, but they were gravely mistaken. Humans had learned long ago to use their perceived weaknesses as strengths. What the Council saw as meekness was actually a carefully measured approach to survival. Earth's leaders knew that brute force would only go so far. Their true power lay in psychological warfare, a strength they began to wield with precision. A series of strategic broadcasts began circulating through open interstellar channels. While they appeared as innocuous news updates, each subtly reminded the galaxy of humanity's resolve and growing alliances. They framed humanity as a beacon of resilience, a planet that valued its people over power, and a potential ally against any oppressive force. The Council's intelligence agents scrambled to respond, but the humans were too efficient, broadcasting on a rotating frequency that made it nearly impossible to trace back to a single source. As more species across the galaxy tuned in, a new perspective on humanity began to emerge. It was clear that Earth wasn't the meek planet the Council had depicted. Instead, they were strategic, resourceful, and adaptable, using every resource at their disposal to turn the tables without firing a single shot. While their psychological campaign unfolded, humanity was quietly forming a coalition of alien species who had grievances with the Council. Some were from the far edges of the galaxy, smaller factions that had been long ignored or mistreated, and others were once loyal members of the Council, who now saw an opportunity to break free from its overreach. The human-led coalition, a mix of smaller ships and unique technologies, wasn't a massive armada by any means, but it represented something far more dangerous: a unified front. Each ally brought distinct capabilities and insights, filling gaps in Earth's defensive systems and further strengthening their position. Meanwhile, the Council was growing frustrated. Reports of their failed intimidation efforts filtered back to them, but they dismissed each one, certain that a final push would bring humanity to its knees. Yet, every step forward was met by another setback. Small skirmishes broke out on the fringes of their fleet, seemingly minor, but each was a calculated move by human strategists to test the Council's response. Quick strikes here, probing maneuvers there, these small encounters began to chip away at the Council's confidence. And with each calculated move, humans collected invaluable data, analyzing Council tactics and adapting faster than anyone anticipated. The Council's admirals grew wary, sensing an unanticipated level of preparedness and strategy from Earth's forces. They had expected a frightened, scattered defense but were instead confronted by an opponent who anticipated their every move. Humanity's tactics were not only effective but relentlessly disorienting. Each piece of misinformation, each minor encounter, fed directly into the Council's fears, shaking their sense of control and superiority. Finally, humanity revealed its hand. In a bold, decisive move, Earth initiated a holographic broadcast, an unmistakable message sent galaxy-wide. Without arrogance or threats, the message was simple and clear. "We stand as equals, not subjects." The statement sent shockwaves through Council space, rippling across allied planets and even stirring discontent within the Council itself. Watching from afar, other species began questioning their loyalty to a Council that couldn't even secure the obedience of a single planet. The Council was left with no choice. Frustrated and eager to save face, they decided on a full-scale assault, a last resort that would force humanity to surrender or face annihilation. It was a move they believed would end any resistance Earth might muster. But in truth, it was the exact response humanity had anticipated. Behind the scenes, Earth's tactical teams finalized their preparations. Their allies stood ready, covertly positioned around the edges of Council space, and humanity's fleet, while outnumbered, was poised for battle. The Council believed they were about to crush an insubordinate planet, but they were about to face an adversary unlike any they had ever known. As the Council's fleet surged forward, armed to the teeth with firepower, Earth's response was immediate and precise. Humanity had been underestimated for centuries, but now they had a chance to prove what resilience, ingenuity, and strategic depth could achieve. Earth's defenses activated, each part of their complex plan unfolding in tandem. The initial wave from the Council was met with what they thought was a straightforward battle, until the Council's forces began to experience a relentless series of counterstrikes from all angles. Human forces used decoy fleets that appeared substantial, only to dissolve or reveal themselves as holographic projections. The Council's weaponry hit nothing but light, while human ships strategically repositioned for real attacks. Then came the unexpected: humanity's advanced shielding technology. Instead of traditional shields, they employed energy-dispersive barriers that absorbed impact and redirected energy back toward the Council's ships. These barriers were a recent breakthrough, untested in real combat but now proving their value. The Council ships, accustomed to overwhelming their opponents with brute strength, suddenly found themselves on the receiving end of their own power. Every attack became a risk, every shot a potential blow to their own forces. Council commanders, shocked by this turn of events, hesitated, trying to recalibrate strategies they had long relied upon. Yet, humanity's greatest strength lay not in their technology alone but in their relentless adaptability. Earth's fleet did not merely react, they anticipated. Using real-time data from battle observations, human tacticians continuously adjusted their formations and responses. In less than an hour, Earth's forces had analyzed Council ship patterns, identifying weak points and blind spots. When the Council attempted an overwhelming barrage, humanity responded with feints and bait maneuvers, drawing the largest ships into carefully orchestrated traps. Precision strikes targeted engines, weapons systems, and command centers, strategically disabling ships rather than outright destroying them. This wasn't a display of sheer firepower, it was surgical, calculated, and devastatingly effective. As the battle raged, human reinforcements arrived in waves, not as additional fleets but as smaller, highly mobile ships optimized for hit-and-run tactics. These nimble crafts slipped through the Council's defensive lines, wreaking havoc in places no one expected. The Council commanders, accustomed to linear battles, struggled to understand the chaotic yet meticulously controlled tactics of Earth's fleet. Humanity's response defied every established rule of warfare in Council records, throwing their forces into disarray. With every setback, the Council's tightly held confidence began to crumble, inch by inch. Human forces pressed further, revealing yet another layer of their strategy. In addition to their active fleets, Earth had secretly mobilized a battalion of drones equipped with electronic warfare systems, designed to disrupt the Council's communications and radar. When the Council's admirals tried to issue coordinated commands, they found channels jammed and guidance systems compromised. Ships that relied on central command became isolated, and their once cohesive formation splintered. Council crews, now operating in the dark, struggled to navigate the battlefield, while Earth's forces moved with precision, striking vulnerable targets with ruthless efficiency. At the height of the conflict, humanity unveiled their final, most decisive asset, a hidden fleet that had remained cloaked in low-orbit positions behind Earth's moon. Comprised of stealth-capable ships with unprecedented cloaking abilities, this fleet had avoided all Council surveillance and monitoring. When they emerged, it was as if Earth had conjured reinforcements out of thin air, a move that shattered any remaining confidence in the Council ranks. These ships, fitted with the most advanced weaponry humanity possessed, struck with pinpoint accuracy, each blast targeted to disable without unnecessary destruction. Their swift, silent approach was overwhelming, leaving the Council scrambling. With their command center at risk and their ships overwhelmed, the Council's forces realized they had been outmaneuvered at every turn. They had come expecting to humble a primitive planet, only to find themselves bested by a tactical brilliance they hadn't known humans possessed. Messages of surrender began to filter in from outlying ships, and as Earth's forces closed in, the remaining Council ships had no choice but to cease fire. Earth had fought a war unlike any the galaxy had seen before, redefining the rules and emerging victorious not through sheer might but through adaptability, intelligence, and an unbreakable will to defend their home. What began as a campaign of intimidation had become a lesson in humility for the Council, and a turning point for humanity's place in the galaxy. The outcome was undeniable. Humans were no longer the fearful, cautious species the galaxy had believed them to be. Instead, they were strategic warriors, determined allies, and a force to be reckoned with. And as the Council's battered fleet retreated, the galaxy began to understand that Earth's true power had only just begun to reveal itself. The battered Council fleet, limping back from Earth's defenses, sent shockwaves across the galaxy. In Council chambers, delegates wrestled with the reality of their humiliating defeat. They had sent an armada, confident in overwhelming power, but returned with a fraction of their forces intact. The Council, for centuries the undisputed power of the galaxy, now faced a humiliating new truth: they had fundamentally misunderstood humanity. And that ignorance had nearly cost them everything. News of the battle and humanity's astonishing capabilities spread rapidly through interstellar networks, reaching distant planets and allied systems. Some members of the Council felt it was time to seek a swift and humble peace with Earth, fearing what might happen if the Council continued pushing a species that had not only defended itself but exposed every vulnerability in the Council's fleet. Humanity's show of power was a loud and clear warning that their strength lay not only in weapons but in an unwavering resilience, a vast intelligence network, and an unmatched strategic depth. But not all factions within the Council were ready to accept this new balance. Those holding on to old beliefs and positions of power argued that the loss was a fluke, a result of underestimated preparation, perhaps even outside interference. Yet, as details emerged about the precision of Earth's strategy, the tactical prowess, and the psychological depth of their approach, it became harder for even the staunchest skeptics to dismiss humanity's strength as mere luck. Reports confirmed that human strategists had predicted, adapted, and outsmarted the Council at every stage. This was no accident, no one-time event. Earth had demonstrated the kind of tactical mastery that had once cemented the Council's own dominance, now on full display against them. Amidst these debates, smaller factions within the Council began quietly reaching out to Earth, hoping to forge alliances or open communication channels. This wasn't just about respect, it was about survival. Species long marginalized or bullied by the Council saw in humanity a potential ally who might counterbalance the Council's power, an entity willing to stand up for its sovereignty without the intention of dominating others. Earth's message was clear: they valued peace and cooperation, but they would not tolerate coercion or intimidation. Humanity's approach resonated with those who had grown weary of the Council's harsh rule, offering the galaxy an unexpected hope for a future that might finally shift away from fear-driven policies. On Earth, there was no grand celebration. Humanity remained wary, understanding that while they had won this battle, the galaxy's politics had irrevocably shifted. Earth's leaders recognized the need for diplomacy, balancing their newfound strength with a cautious approach. A public statement was issued to the galaxy, affirming humanity's commitment to peace and its desire for open, respectful dialogue. "We did not seek conflict, but we will always defend our right to exist," the message read. It was a declaration that firmly positioned Earth as a defender, not an aggressor, reassuring allies and warning would-be challengers. Within days, several galactic nations formally withdrew from Council alliances, citing their disapproval of the Council's actions and the newfound respect they had for humanity's stance. Across star systems, citizens and diplomats alike began to question the legitimacy of a Council that had provoked an unnecessary war and exposed the galaxy to a power they had not prepared for. Rumors spread of planets considering full independence, while others held diplomatic summits to discuss how humanity's entrance into the interstellar stage would reshape trade, defense pacts, and cultural exchanges. The galaxy itself felt different, as if old norms had been dismantled, replaced by a fragile but palpable hope for a fairer, balanced future. The Council, bruised and divided, faced an ultimatum they could scarcely have imagined. To retain even a fraction of their influence, they needed to reform, to adopt a stance that reflected unity and mutual respect rather than dominance. As humanity took its place as a recognized and respected power, the Council voted to extend Earth an offer to join as a full member, signaling that they were ready to acknowledge humans as equals, partners, and, most importantly, as protectors of peace. Humanity, in turn, made it clear that any partnership would be contingent on principles of equity, justice, and autonomy for all members. And so, in a galaxy where the balance of power had seemed permanent, humanity's actions had set off a chain reaction of change. Alien societies began to question long-held assumptions, to rethink old alliances and age-old fears. Peace was no longer the result of submission to the Council's dominance, but a shared ideal that species from all corners of the galaxy could unite behind. Earth's stand against the Council had revealed not only the strength of a single planet but the strength of an idea, that all beings had a right to dignity, to peace, and to self-determination. The Council that had once ruled by intimidation was now reshaping itself into a body of representation, a symbol of unity rather than supremacy. Earth's presence in the Council chambers became a reminder of the limits of power when wielded irresponsibly and of the immense potential of resilience, cooperation, and hope.